about a week. And they give more detail and say that there was a malicious attachment with a macro, and then it led to a Lua-based malware dubbed Sunseed. So according to our visibility, most high-profile targets for this cyber espionage campaign were located in Eastern Europe, around Ukraine, and we noticed that the group was especially interested in diplomats and people working at Ministry of Foreign Affairs in various countries in this region. So here are examples of malicious documents that the group has used. So the one on the left is use some traditional VBA macro, while the one on the right that was used, if I remember correctly, in June 2022 against government staff of Moldova. So this one was using the Folina vulnerability, which is CV 2022-30190. So it's a vulnerability that leads to code execution in Microsoft Office. And this one was discovered just few weeks before it was used. So it shows that Asylum Ambuscade is like looking for new compromise vector. So what's the infection chain? First, it starts with a spear phishing email. As I just shown, then it's a malicious Office document, for example, XLS attachment with a VBA macro. That then download a MSI installer that will drop the Sunseed downloader, which is a Lua-based downloader, and then the persistent is established by dropping a LNK file in the startup folder. But the chain doesn't stop there. So Sunseed is a downloader and can download additional scripts in Lua, and one of those scripts is responsible for downloading the next stage, which is more or less the same thing as Sunseed, but in AutoHotkey. So it's again a downloader in AutoHotkey, and this time this one can download spying plugins also in AutoHotkey. So for example, to take screenshots, to steal password in browser, or some kind of hidden VNC, and there are many more. So this is Sunseed. It's a bit ugly, but once you deobfuscate it with a bit of manual work, this is what you obtain. So it's quite simple. First, it takes the serial number of the C drive, and then it sends a HTTP GET request to the CNC server. So there is the IP address of the C2 that is directly encoded in the code, and then it's slash and the serial number that was retrieved. And then the reply of this request is Lua code that will be interpreted. So this is the plugin that will drop the AutoHotkey downloader. So it's Lua script that will just download first this mscore.ahk file. So this is the AutoHotkey script. And then second, it downloads the AutoHotkey interpreter, because most of the time the victim doesn't have the AutoHotkey interpreter installed on their machine, so they need to ship it. This group really like scripting language. For example, they develop a variant of Sunseed in TCL. It was the first time I heard about the script language. But as you can see, it's almost the same thing, except that it doesn't retrieve the C drive serial number, but the logic is similar, like it sends request to a server and eval the reply. So this is the AutoHotkey downloader. As you can see, it's almost the same as Sunseed again. First, it will take the C drive serial number, which is put then in the HTTP request, and then it evals the code that is written by the CNC server. This is an example of plugin in AutoHotkey. This one will install a remote access tool, which is called remote utilities. So it's kind of legitimate tool. but it allows to fully control the machine. So actually, this AutoHotkey script just download and execute the executable for remote utilities. This is the full list of plugins that is available to AHKBot. So I won't describe every single of them, but maybe just a few. So there is the desk screen plugin to take screenshots. Desk screen on, desk screen off is to take screenshots in loop. Then we have this HVNC. So HVNC stands for hidden VNC, but actually in this case it's not really, it doesn't use the VNC protocol. It's just a headless Chrome browser that can be controlled remotely. Not sure what's the exact purpose, but it might be to browse websites that are not available from the outside. I mean, to browse website on the intranet or on the local network. Since they don't have any proxy, maybe it's their way of proxying traffic. There is a keylogger, pretty simple, browser password stealer, and the root server on root server of plugins that I just talked earlier. So it's quite typical implant used to spy on a machine. And there is this plugin which is called delete cookies, which is interesting because for espionage it's not very useful. It deletes cookies on the victim machine for very specific domain, including, so it's hard-coded, the domains are hard-coded here, mail.ru and td.com, and as you might know, TD is a Canadian bank, so why would threat actor want to delete cookies for a Canadian bank? So we think that this plugin is aimed at deleting authentication cookies so that the victim has to re-authenticate to their account, and then if they run the keylogger at the same time, they can grab credentials. But this td.com doesn't make sense if you target diplomats in Eastern Europe. So let's go back a bit in time, and I found this blog post by Chain Micro, and that says that it's a group that targets US and Canadian bank customer. And if we scroll down a little bit, we have this nice figure. And as you can see, the infection chain starts with a XLS file with VBA macro. Then we have a AutoHotkey downloader that can download additional scripts. So probably sounds quite familiar. And then we scroll down again, and there is an example of a plugin. So this one is a browser password stealer. And if we compare to the plugin called passwords that we found in our espionage campaign, it's actually exactly the same thing. So it seems that the toolkit used in this Threat Micro article from 2020 is the same that was used to target government staff last year. So is it a crimeware group that switched to espionage during the war? Actually not, because we dug into older campaign and we found that since 2020, Asylum Ambuscade have been targeting government officials and people working in state-owned companies, mostly in Central Asia and also Armenia. So it means that they have been doing cybercrime and cyber espionage since the beginning of their operation. Yeah, so I answer to the question a bit early, but yes, they do cybercrime and cyber espionage. We also noticed that, so at the beginning of last year, they were mostly doing cyber espionage, but then starting October 2022, we have started to see more and more cybercrime campaigns. We found around a bit more than 4,000 victims since the beginning of 2022, and as you can see, most of them are located in the US, Canada, and also a bit in Europe, as you can see, Germany. But what is interesting is that there are also quite few victims in Russia. Yeah, so we counted more than 4,500 victims since January last year. And interestingly, there is a big spike of infection almost once a month. So these are the latest one we observed was in early March. I didn't observe anything like another campaign since that time, but maybe they completely changed the toolkit, I'm not sure. And most victims for cybercrime campaigns are cryptocurrency traders and also small and medium businesses. I don't think they are specifically targeting like anyone, just random small businesses in US and Canada. So how is the malware delivery for the cybercrime campaigns? So they mostly use a traffic direction system to redirect targets to malicious pages. Unfortunately, in our telemetry, we did not observe how people landed on the first node of the TDS, but open source reporting suggests that the attackers are sending phishing emails with links or PDF documents with links to these first nodes of the TDS. And it's also possible that visitors from compromised websites are redirected to this TDS. So it's an example of a chain for this TDS that I found on urscan.io. So the target will first visit the website localkitchencodes.com. Then they will be redirected to a second domain, which is a bit hard to pronounce, so I won't do it. And then there is a third redirection to techfosolutions.com. And on this one, there is the delivery of malicious JavaScript files. In that case, it was named document 1 December some random number.js. And it's almost every time the same pattern for the malicious JavaScript. So it's always like document or notice or something like that. And then the date of the campaign, and then some random number. In some other cases, there are also fake, so people are redirected from the TDS to fake Zoom pages. And then from those Zoom pages, if you click download, then you'll also get a malicious JavaScript file. And there are also some for TeamViewer. As you can see, there is some typo, new Verizon, and I think it's written, it's not TeamViewer in the title, it's 2V if I remember correctly. So this is another chain that we found with like nakodamachine.com is part of this TDS. It redirected to this document.js malicious script, and then it downloaded AHK bot. So this is clearly like part of Asylum Ambuscade operation. But if we look for this domain on VirusTotal, for example, we can see that the same domain was used to deliver like a different like MSE file, which drops actually a PowerShell script. And this PowerShell script will reach out to download-cdn.com. And this domain was apparently controlled by another cybercrime actor called TA505 in 2020. So it's possible that the domain change hands. But in any case, like this PowerShell downloader, it's actually not part of Asylum Ambuscade operation. So what it means is that the TDS is not exclusive to Asylum Ambuscade. So it was probably used by TA505. We've also seen some QBot distribution from it. So it's probably some paid underground services that the group is using to distribute and install the malware. They are probably like paying someone else to do some, to distribute their tools. There was also some mention of Google Ads, malicious Google Ads that redirect to those malicious websites. So we did not really observe it in our telemetry, but there is a blog post on the Sense website, and you can see like this is fake ads for TeamViewer, and actually it redirects to one of the fake pages that I mentioned just a few slides before. So in any case, either like the TDS or the malicious Google ads, they lead to a JavaScript file, which is a bit obfuscated, but we can like reconstruct the URL, and actually it will call install product to download the MSI, to download and install MSI from this URL. So probably Asylum Ambuscade was providing this MSI, and even the JavaScript was controlled by same group as the TDS. If the target executes the GS script, it downloads the MSI package that drops this VBS downloader, and again, it's similar to Sunseed or AHKbot. You can see that it gets the C drive serial number and then does a HTTP GET request. In this case, it will not download VBS script, but download and install another MSI package. This MSI package can contain, for example, AHKbot or a new Python screenshotter. And also in the latest campaigns, we have seen a few more plugins for the auto-hotkey downloader. So this is a Python screenshotter. It's quite simple, like it just take a screenshot and exfiltrate it. Also, the feeling how it's written, it's always similar to in every scripting language. So I believe like one person develops all these tools in all those different languages. There is also so if you remember, there was this more or less hidden VNC, but now they have something that they call HCMD, and actually it's a reverse shell written in Node.js. Why not? Actually there are a few functions, but the goal is just to execute some command with cmd.exe and send the result back to the CNC server. And there is a new password stealer. It will, and what is interesting is at the end, so they download and execute another like executable, which is downloaded just here. And what is interesting, there is some command in Russian saying that here it is not known what the function should return. So it's probably reassuring to see that they don't really know what they are doing. And the last one that they have added, probably because they started to really compromise more and more companies, is that it's this script to gather information about the Active Directory. So they execute a bunch of commands like nltest or netgroup domain computers / domain etc. And then again they exfiltrate to, like this part is very similar in all plugins. And what comes after? Of course, Cobalt Strike. Then after Cobalt Strike, we haven't observed any further activity, but it's likely that attackers are deploying other stages or are reselling the infected machine to ransomware affiliates, for example, because yes, they can monetize their activity with the password stealers, or I don't know, they can take screenshots and get some private information, but I think that they are really monetizing also the infecting machine after. Cobalt Strike configuration is quite typical. So yes, you have like domains nozet.com. I believe they control that. It uses a jQuery malleable profile. And if we scroll down, there is a watermark, and it's non-watermark used by many cybercrime groups. So it's probably some leaked Cobalt Strike builder from a long time ago. And then 2 months ago, they did some retooling. They decided to redevelop everything in Node.js, so including AHKbot. So this is the new backdoor that we name NodeBot, but it's, as you can see, it's the same. Get C drive serial number, get request, and then execute the results. Difference is that everything is in JavaScript now, and they have started redeveloping the plugins from AutoHotkey to JavaScript, so they haven't finished like redeveloping everything, but some of them are already done. For example, the browser password stealer. Or the screenshotter. This one actually it downloads another tool which is called Irfan View. It's some tools to edit pictures, but actually it can be used in command line to take screenshots. Some other experimentations that we have observed, like in March, is that they have started playing with LNK file. So since Microsoft disable by default macro downloaded from the internet, LNK file have become some very popular last year among like all threat actors, and Asylum Ambuscade is no exception. And they're also starting to play with .pub file, which are like just Office file from Microsoft Publisher. So as we can see here, for example, one of the operator uploaded a bunch of files on VirusTotal, probably in order to try to bypass detection. So we can see at the beginning there was 1 detection, then a few minutes after 5 detection, and finally 0 detection after 27 minutes. Some words about the attribution. So there was again another blog post by Proofpoint which was published early February, and so what they have named the group here TA866, but actually it's the cybercrime part that I was describing. So now the question is between espionage and cybercrime clusters, is it the same group or is it some malware kit for sale? So we think it's the same group because the level of activity is quite low. We counted like a bit more than 4,000 victims. It can sound high, but if the toolkit was shared on multiple cybercrime groups, it will be way higher. And second, the network infrastructure is very similar for all cyber espionage and cybercrime campaigns. For example, CN servers are usually located at same hosting providers, so it's likely that a single person manages all this infrastructure. And third, the toolset is rather basic in comparison to other crimeware backdoors for sales that we have seen. So our assessment is that Asylum Ambuscade is a cybercrime group that is doing espionage on the side for some reason. Like we don't know for who they are working, but they are clearly engaged in espionage as well. So lastly, why they will do financially motivated activity? Since espionage is not like it's just a few operations, not their main operations, it's unlikely that they use cybercrime to fund the espionage operation, but it's likely that it's for their personal profit. And during our investigation, we found a few hints about origin of the attackers. So first, in most plugins or most malwares they develop, there are Russian strings, and most of the time, like the Russian language is like really good quality. So it was written by a Russian native speaker. So this one says my number for debugging. So it's likely that these two numbers are the C drive serial numbers of the developer. And also, if you remember the targets of the cyber espionage campaign, it was first Central Asia and then Ukraine and its neighbors. So it really suggests that attackers are somehow connected to Belarus or Russia, because they are like the two main states that are like spying in this region. So let's conclude this talk. First, back to the original question. So are Russian cyber criminals targeting Ukraine and its allies? So yes and no. So Asylum Ambuscade is a good example of that. It's probably Russian or Belarusian cyber criminals that were doing espionage in Central Asia, but then they moved to Eastern Europe at the beginning of the war. But on the other hand, it's only one of the few. It's only one example, and we haven't seen like a very big trend of cyber criminals starting to target Ukraine or Poland or such countries. So we should be careful when trying to link every cybercrime incident in Western countries to the war in Ukraine. So there are Asylum Ambuscade. I believe there are cyber criminals doing a bit of cyber espionage. They have a basic tool set, but it seems to work even against Ministry of Foreign Affairs. And they really like to redevelop the same thing in different scripting language. We will see what scripting language is next. Thanks for your attention, and we're currently finishing to write a blog post that will be published on our blog, welivesecurity.com in a few weeks.